This week, the United States Supreme Court is hearing a symbolic case concerning a small farmer's lawsuit against agribusiness giant Monsanto concerning their pesticide-resistant soybean seeds. Since its introduction of genetically modified crops, Monsanto has generated a sea of controversy among small farmers across the U.S., and the company is now trying to expand south into Mexico. After years of trying to penetrate the Mexican market, Monsanto, DuPont, and Dow had a breakthrough when outgoing Mexican President Felipe Calderón granted them the right to cultivate GMO corn in various northern Mexican states. Protesting the influx of genetically modified crops in their country, activists, farmers, and academics all across Mexico have been mobilizing to urge the new Mexican president, Enrique Peña Nieto, to reject these permissions. In early February, UNORCA, the National Union of Autonomous Regional Peasant Organizations, held a week-long fast with 50 campesino farmers from all over the country participating in Mexico City.
Entonces nosotros creemos que la única relación que nos queda a los productores con la madre naturaleza es precisamente las semillas naturales. Y recordemos una cosa, que México tenemos 60 variedades distintas que hemos cuidado durante los últimos 10,000 años y con eso el mundo se ha alimentado. Entonces vamos a luchar hasta lo último. Es una lucha que se puede decir que iniciamos por la vida saludable del país.
At the conclusion of their fast, thousands of people marched in central Mexico, uniting their voices against the introduction of GMO corn and urging President Peña Nieto to take a stand against these crops.
Hace Peña Nieto? Peña Nieto nada más hizo una mentira con el pueblo. Ahora mire cómo nos está envenenando. Están resultando las enfermedades. Se hicieron estudios por parte de la Universidad Autónoma. Hicieron estudios en Francia con las ratas del maíz transgénico para ver qué resultados tenía. Los resultados que dieron en Francia, que las ratas les nacen tumores, que las ratas tienen cáncer. ¿Qué es lo que va a pasar con los ciudadanos de México? Ya no aguantamos más. ¡Afuera Monsanto! Es lo que pedimos todos los mexicanos, que comamos tortillas criollas.
A delegation of hundreds of farmers from the northern states where the GMO corn will be planted traveled a whole day to arrive at the march.
Creo que es la planta o es la semilla más consumida en el país. Es una semilla nativa de aquí de nuestro México, por lo que la importancia de este tipo de movimientos, este tipo de manifestaciones pacíficas a todas luces, es pues el buscar esa soberanía alimentaria, esa producción sana, esa producción de maíz puro que pueda nutrir a todas nuestras familias.
Mexico has one of the highest per capita consumption rates of corn in the world. In 2005, Mexico occupied the 4th place for maize production, but this has since dropped to 7th place, largely due to the importation of corn from the U.S. that has driven the crop's prices down in Mexico.
Tenemos unos problemas de distribución. Sí se produce en este país maíz y frijol, que mucho de ese maíz que producen campesinos de cierta manera no se está distribuyendo a las ciudades o a otros lugares de consumo y se les está quedando. Y la política continuamente ha sido que cada año se va aumentando la importación extranjera, ¿no? Entonces, ahorita la solución es que se dice, ¿saben qué? No está llegando, por ejemplo, ahorita a la Ciudad de México el suficiente maíz. Necesitamos incrementar la producción, necesitamos incrementar el abastecimiento externo, y una solución en cuestión interna es la cuestión de la producción, pero de maíz transgénico, no los saberes locales que tienen las comunidades indígenas ancestrales.
In the United States, 86% of corn is grown from Monsanto genetically modified seed, and since its introduction, seed prices have grown 259%. For already impoverished small farmers in Mexico, this increase in prices will have devastating effects. Mexican President Peña Nieto has declared a war on poverty and hunger. Protesters decry this initiative as hypocritical, believing that GMO corn will increase hunger and poverty.
No, pues nos va a causar más hambre porque a lo mejor ni lo sabemos manejar, porque es distinto, y pues la gente que está acostumbrada a sembrar, le da coraje que se lo paguen a muy bajo precio. Entonces el hambre de todas maneras sigue. Lo que Peña Nieto diga, pues lo dirá para que lo escuchen en otros países donde no conocen la verdad.
Monsanto commonly sues farmers who have not purchased their seeds but have GM seeds present in their fields due to contamination or cross-pollination. Hugh Bauman, a 75-year-old soybean farmer from Indiana, is countersuing Monsanto in the Supreme Court after they sued him for over $84,000 for planting and reusing seeds from GMO soybeans, which he purchased at a grain elevator. It appears that many of the justices, including Clarence Thomas, who was formerly a lawyer for Monsanto, are in favor of the corporation's position. Chief Justice John G. Roberts, Jr. asked, quote, "Why in the world would anybody spend any money to try to improve the seed if as soon as they sold the first one, anybody could grow more and have as many of those seeds as they want?" The results of this lawsuit could have very strong repercussions in Mexico if GMO crops are introduced.
Well, I have to say I was just reading the transcript of the hearings today, and I was somewhat disappointed that the attorney who was challenging Monsanto didn't actually call into question the right to patent life, but was really only arguing about something called patent exhaustion doctrine, which is whether or not the second or third generation would still be the property of the patenting company. It's kind of nibbling around the edges because as far as I'm concerned and farmer indigenous peoples organizations are concerned, there should never be any law that allows property rights over living things, and that we would like to see that challenged. Of course, if Bowman loses and Monsanto wins, it means that any GMO seed that's found because of contamination, because of accidental planting, whatever in a farmer's field, means that Monsanto or any other company who owns that patent could sue those farmers and recover damages from them. Of course, that's very bad, but it doesn't really get at the larger issues around GMOs and around patents on life.
In the coming days, the Supreme Court will make their decision on the Bauman versus Monsanto case. Mexicans say they will continue to mobilize to prevent the introduction of genetically modified corn in their country. Andrew Janol with Cristiano Rasgado for the Real News Network in Mexico City.